What is good, YouTube? It is your boy, Mr. Power, and I'm back with another podcast. Today, we have a very, very special guest, my guy, Anthony Fleming III. You guys know him as JP. How are you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing great, man. Everything's going well. How you doing?
Good, good, good. I really appreciate you for giving me your time today. We're excited to talk,
Yeah.
man. Obviously, you had a huge episode. How are you feeling? What was the process in finding out the fate of your character?
You know, it was conversations with my man Gary Lennon. You know, he let you know what's coming down the pipe. But as a fan of the show, you can relate to this. You can kind of feel what's happening. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great, man. It was handled with grace, and it was given the attention I feel that it deserved. And you know, I think that episode, not just the stuff with JP, but I think it's going to go down as one of the greatest episodes in the franchise. You know, directed by the very talented and just lovely person, Monica Raymond. You know, she directed flawlessly. She's an actor herself.
Mm-hmm.
So I always feel that directors who act do a great job of communicating how they want their POV, you know, how they want the story told. They know how to talk to actors. And there's also like just a unwritten language that's already developed. But it was great, man. To be able to put that on film was dope. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's like that's on film forever. And the series is ending, and you know, it was nice to go out that way. I tell you what was shocking, dog, was, and when we spoke earlier, I told you the reaction that I've seen so far today from the Power universe.
Yep.
You know, I thought it was going to go completely the other way. I thought they're going to be like, you know, finally this nigga gone. You know, finally he up out of here. But yo, it's been, for the most part, for what I can tell, you know, cats are like, yo, you know, R.I.P. JP, you went out like a G. And I really didn't expect that at all. You know, we wrapped on this like a year and a half ago, man. So I've been walking around knowing that this is coming up. And like you said the other day, man, that 8 weeks just flew. And here we are at episode 8. And it's like, all right, JP's going out. How the people going to respond? You know, so you know, I was in my feelings a little bit this morning, man, reading some of the comments, dog, because I was just like, yo, I didn't know that was going to be the response at all. So it was love.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, is there like an emotional heartbreak that comes with knowing you're kind of letting go of a character that like it's probably so close to you? You've been doing for 3 years, and obviously you've cultivated these relationships with the cast members as well. So you kind of leaving them too.
Yeah, of course, it's always bittersweet, man. You know, we walk around with these stories and these feelings and in these people's shoes, and we create and craft these worlds. And you know, it's you get connected, and then one day it's just like you're told, all right, we're done. But yeah, it stays with you, man. But what's beautiful about it is that everyone put their heart and soul into each and every single episode and each and every single beat of this show. Led by number one on the call sheet, Joseph Sikora. He assembled and just rallied and inspired an entire group of people, of artists who came together and did some dope ass storytelling, you know. So you feel good about that. You feel good that we left it all on the table, that the fans are engaged, you know, they feel some kind of way about everything, which is what you want. They're talking about it, you know, they don't want to see what's going to happen. You catch all that flack. People be like, man, why you posting that? And I love your response to it too. You like, how is that my problem?
Yeah, like,
you
know I gotta get this bread, man.
Right? No, but it's just like, it's out there in the world. And the way shit is today, man, I'm surprised like the whole ep wasn't available a week ago, you know? But fans are leaning in and they're tuning in, and that's what you want. And as far as JP, man, you know, I feel he did go out trying to protect his son. So yeah, I mean, we'll get into that, the whole relationship there, but I feel he went out like a G, as the internet's been saying.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you're being told that your character is going to get killed off, and then like you read the script and you see how he's going out, like, are you satisfied with that? Are you like, oh shoot, like okay, I think people will like this, or are you unsure? How are you feeling about it when you first find out?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's I think you just hope that you can do justice to what the writers have brought before you, you know.
Hmm.
The actors were able, you know, I think all of the actors on this show, all the regulars, we felt that we had a voice, you know. At the beginning of season 2, Gary Lennon sat down with each one of us individually, and you know, we met and we discussed at length individually, you know, privately, our characters, the trajectory, the storyline, where we felt they were going, what was working, what we felt wasn't working. So yeah, when it's, you know, we know you're just gonna rap, you wanna wrap it up the right way, and you wanna. I mean, everything's not gonna wrap up perfectly, you know.
Hmm.
That'll never happen in any world. I don't feel JP wrapped up
Yep.
perfectly, you know. JP definitely was incomplete. JP was flawed in a lot of ways, um, but very complex. And you know, I think he played his role to its fullest. You know, I think on a longer timeline, man, I would have loved to see some different things with JP. I think on a
Yeah.
longer timeline, JP and Tommy, that relationship could have been something, you know, something more. Because I think
Mhm.
it, first of all, relationship, I don't know if you got a brother, but relationship with brothers, man, is tough. You know, it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of love. It's a lot of hate. It's a lot of misunderstanding. There could be a lot of time in between communications.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I think if there was more time, JP and Tommy would have gotten to a place, I think, where they would have seen more eye to eye, and kind of worked together in some capacity, all for the family. You know, I think the family dynamic would have changed, you know, with him and Maria, I'm sorry, and with Kate and
Yeah.
D-Mac. I think going back to the original show, man, the original the original Power, Tommy's always a cat who wanted to be in that family dynamic. Some of
Yep.
my favorite scenes were like him just chilling at the crib with Tasha and Tariq, eating oatmeal and just being in the family. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he always wanted that, and he never really got that. And coming to Chicago, he found that. You know, it just sort of kind of fell at him.
Hmm.
But when he met JP, man, it was two cats who were both searching for something. Tommy was coming from a world where he was the king, you know, but he was coming to Chicago, and he didn't know how the money moved here. He didn't know the streets. He had to become a student again before he became the master. And JP was in a place, I mean, it seems like so long ago with JP, but you know, he was established here in Chicago as a musician. He had a club with him and his dad. But then, like, his dad got sick, and the medical bills stacked up, and he started to
Mm.
lose his club, and them YNs was like shooting up his club. You know what I'm saying? So shit was going south for
Yeah.
JP. You know, he was dealing with some real life shit, some real problems. So these cats were both searching. They found each other. They thought they could make it work, and then like things happened to derail that, as things often do. But
Hmm.
I think towards the end of season 3, they were starting to come back together to a certain place. They had, you know, they were working their way back. And on that longer timeline, I think we would have seen some dope stuff between JP and Tommy.
Yeah, it's interesting that right when they're starting to like really cultivate that bond, boom, that's when he loses them.
That's
You know what I
drama,
mean?
baby. You know, that's good TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So how do you feel like JP's death now like serves the rest of the story? You feel like it's gonna ignite? I mean, we know.
Oh,
Like
come on, man.
obviously
Yeah,
Tommy.
most definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, did you see how Tommy dropped to the ground? Um, which just tripped out, man, because I hadn't seen that.
Oh, really?
But I hadn't seen it. What it took me back to was there was something that was done sonically that was akin to when he killed Holly.
Mm.
There was like this rage, and there was like this sound, like a tinnitus almost kind of sound when he was choking
Yeah.
the shit out of Holly. And just the anger and the rage that
Yeah.
was coursing through his body. When he hit the ground after JP got shot, when he heard those gunshots, I felt and I saw that same thing in Tommy, and I just like, it's coming. But that was
Yeah.
JP's plan. That was his last thing that he could do by saying, calling Jannard's name out, so Tommy could know right where to go to. Before that, JP said, you find my son and you take care of him. And then he said, "What's wrong, Jannard?" Making sure Tommy heard, "Yo, it's Jannard at the hands of this." Like he wouldn't have figured it out anyway, but he was like, "Yo, it's Jannard," and then that was it, because JP knew he was done as soon as them cats kicked the door in.
Yep.
He was like, "There's no walking away from this. These cats ain't gonna let me go."
Yeah.
So JP, though not in the game, is smart enough and knowledgeable enough about the game to know this is it. So what can he do? Protect his family. Don't give up any information, and let Tommy know who's responsible. So Tommy can use every ounce of his being and direct it straight at Jannard. So I can't wait to see next week if that happens. Wait. I don't know.
Yeah. So do you feel like JP's death could have been avoided? Because I was really surprised by that scene where he pulled up on Jannard and just started putting hands on him. Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, we hadn't seen that from JP's character. You feel like had he not done that, he would have survived?
I mean, I think anything's possible, but I think going back to the beginning, JP is the same brother who came out of the club when those cats were shooting up his club. He came out with a baseball bat. JP's not a gangster. Yeah. JP never pretended to be a gangster. I never wanted to portray him like that. JP had a different energy. JP was on a different vibration than probably every other character that came into contact with Tommy, when Tommy was, on his street shit. So, and JP is also a father who, feels like he's losing his son, feels like his son is looking up to another man for protection and to be defended. In the scene, there's a scene prior in 308 where D-Mac says to Tommy, "Hey man, I never had nobody stick up for me like that before." And JP clocks that, and that's like, no, as a father, I know, no man wants to hear his son say that. That's going to affect any father, especially when the stakes are as high as they are on Power Book 4 Force. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the stakes are at the highest. These cats are playing life or death. So for Darnell, for D-Mac to say that to Tommy, that was like kind of the final straw, where JP spent a lot of time, not in D-Mac's life, not defending him, not standing up for him, doing things that a father should do. And he's trying to work his way back into that, and this is this is what he knows. JP is being himself. He knows, I'm good with my hands. I said that in season 1, I think, talking to Liliana and Tommy. I'm like, I'm good with my hands. JP knows how to throw his hands. And now we know Jannard's punk ass don't, right? Yeah. No, but I feel like JP that's the way that he was going to defend his son. JP's not going to go pick up a gun, because that's not who JP is. But he will, he did roll up on him and put his hands on him. Molly whooped him. Is he going to come back and retaliate? Yeah, JP won that war. And what's tripped out though, man? At the beginning of season 2, when I had my meeting with Gary, I pitched an idea. I was like, what if there was something between JP and Jannard? Because at the end of season 1, I think it was episode 9, when the first time JP got kidnapped, they was chilling in the spot where the Flynn's used to hang out, where Glory was a bartender, and it was like the Flynn spot. And they were about to take JP to the handoff spot because they were going to switch Vic for JP, I think, right? At the concrete place. Yep. And right when I'm about to get in the car, I'm leaving the room, JP and Jannard cross paths, and JP says, "So you're the motherfucker who shot my son." And there was like a little standoff moment. And I remember that was like the first time that Lofton and I had like an exchange in the show. So we were like, yo, that was kind of dope, So like in that meeting, that season 2 meeting, I said to G, what if there was a thing with JP and Jannard. Like, what if JP whooped Jannard? Because nobody would see that coming. You know what I mean? Nobody would see
Nobody.
JP getting the edge on Jannard. But Jannard on that stuff. He's back on that stuff, so he's slipping. And JP caught him slipping. I didn't know Gary was gonna come back, like he did, and have Jannard be the one to take me out. But I loved that little thing. I loved that little tiff. And like going back and watching the episode last night, there was one point where I was like, oh, I wish I would have ad-libbed this line right here. That's always the thing when you go back and watch it, man. You're like, I would have did this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that it was Jannard. One, because I think it makes sense. It makes sense story-wise. It's going to be such a catalyst for Tommy moving forward in the final two episodes. And working with Lofton, he's top notch. I mean, that brother is a very talented actor, very engaged and focused, and a good human being, very humble, very, very kind, and you just love getting on the boards and working with him. So, it was fun. That was a fun couple of days on set with Lofton.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Like, what is it like filming a death scene? Like, what does it feel like?
Yo, man, it is. First of all, that was my first one on camera, and it was nuts, man. It's a dance. And again, shout out to Monica Raymond for knowing her vision and knowing the choreography she wanted and how she wanted everything to move, the actors, the cameras, the gunshots, and allowing us the space and time to work that. Because in a scene like that, man, it's a lot of attention on that moment. There's a room, 30 plus people, and like everybody's looking at you or what's happening to you or around you. Like there were squibs involved in my shirt. I had to like change my shirt, and there's wires and explosives under the shirt. And there's a homie on the side with a remote control, like setting them off at the right time. And then we got to go in with the makeup, with the gunshot. So it's a lot of moving pieces, man. So, and it's cool as hell. And I'm trying to act like, I've done this before, but at the same time, I'm like a little kid, like, yo, look at this TV we making, And there was so many moments like that on set, man, just working with such great directors, Dion and Robert Townsend and Monica and Kieran Hawks. All the directors we had were just such great artists. And a scene like that death scene, man, it's huge. It's really huge. Everybody's really focused. Everybody's working together, and it's really a great example of just like this collaboration on set, man. From the cast and the crew, stunts, makeup, effects. It's just everybody's coming together, man, to make this moment. And at times it seems blocky and like, oh man, are we getting it? Are we doing it? And then go away and through post and everything, it comes out on midnight, and you're like, yo, that was dope. That was dope.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the process like when you gotta wait? Because like you said, you guys filmed a year and a half ago, so you do all this work and then kind of got to forget about it for a year and a half. Well, what are you thinking in between that time? Like
about Power?
Yeah, about the show, even about your career. Like when you wrap it, what's the mindset to like get a next job? Like,
that's always the thing, man. In this business, I've been doing this for almost 30 years, man. I got 28 years in theater here in Chicago. That's where I kind of, came up doing theater in Chicago. And, I got a couple of TV credits under my belt, but that's the gig, man. That's this hustle. You out of work doing theater. I'm speaking on doing theater. You're out of work every few months, man. There's such a high while you're preparing and rehearsing and going through the process. And then you get to opening night and perform and you do the run and it's great. And you're on cloud 9. And then before you know it, it's closing, and it's like, all right, what's next? Sometimes you have something else lined up next, Some actors in some situations, they might know what they're doing that whole year or for 2 years out. There's some actors, when their time ended on Power, rolled right into another gig, It's just the nature of this thing. Some actors have no idea what's next, don't know what's coming up. Didn't know what was coming up before they got the gig and don't know what's coming up after. So it's a constant hustle, man. But, with a franchise like Power, there's going to be a certain degree of staying power. It's got a great fan base. I mean, Power fans are the best and they want the show. And we got talented people around the show from top down. So, in the time in between when you're waiting, you hope that the fans don't lose interest, because that is a long, it felt like a long time, in
Yeah.
between season 2 and season 3. Heads was reaching out like, yo, what's up with the show? And I'm like, they don't tell me, they ain't telling me nothing.
I don't know.
They're not making sure I know.
Yeah.
But just fans want to see it, and then you want to see it, and then you get other gigs and other work, and you go away and do things, and you go through periods of having a gig or not having a gig, and then you come back and here's Power again. So you just hope that the fans stay with you and stay interested, and we have definitely seen that with season 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you land a role or project, what is your process for getting into character? Do you have to like taking notes? Like, are you doing research? How do you get into the rhythm of things?
Yeah, that's a great question, man, because that's one of the best parts of what I do, I feel, is you know, when I was filming this last season of Power, I was also doing a play at the Goodman Theater here in Chicago. It was a play by August Wilson. Are you familiar with August Wilson?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, he wrote plays like Fences and Ma Rainey's Black
Oh, okay.
Bottom. He's a African American playwright who wrote a canon of 10 plays detailing the African American experience in each
Hmm.
decade of the
Okay.
20th century. And I was doing a play at the Goodman, directed by Chuck Smith, and it was a big play, and I was playing a blues musician, so I had to learn, a little blues guitar and just what it was like for a brother in the 19 teens in Pittsburgh, So, but diving, that's one of my favorite parts because I'm a bit of a history buff. So I
Hmm.
love diving into finding out what was the atmosphere of the country at that time of this play or of this person's profession. Um, every little detail you can find out about the role, where the character is flawed, where the character is coming from, where the character is going, what the character wants, which is of utmost importance.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, the research can be the best part, and it really allows you time to get in there and let the role, the life breathe and live in you.
Do you know when you nailed the scene?
You can feel it, yeah. I'm one of those actors though. I kind of always feel like, oh man, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
When it comes to like film, because I'm still kind of finding my feet, to be honest with you, when on with TV, because
Hmm.
it's a different animal than theater.
Explain
And
that.
uh, well, the response from theater is immediate from the
Mm.
audience. You feel it immediately. Doing Power, we waited a year and a half to see what we did. I waited a year and a half to see what I did.
Yeah.
In that scene, I barely remember some scenes. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right, we did that. So the response and the feedback is immediate in theater. And there's no yelling cut. I mean, to keep it simple, theater, you keep going. You have to know your text. You have to know ins and outs of the scene, of your character, of the everything. Um, so yeah, I always feel like this is just me personally. Like I was
Mhm.
learning a lot during the filming of Power from season 1 to season 3, and I've always been that type of performer where I feel you can learn from everybody around you. I went to college, but only for a year, and I had to drop out of college. But I was working as a professional actor, and I was doing a play. I had to drop out of college, and then while I was doing that play, I got cast in another play and then another play. But I feel because I didn't go to school, I feel like you learn on the boards. You learn
Yep.
in the moment with those around you, and on Power, man, everybody from the first camera op, a brother named Seth Thomas, telling me, it'd be better if you stood over here, or when I swing around with the camera, open your shoulder up this way, it'll be
Mm.
a better shot, or little technical things, or Sakura, who I can't tell you how much I learned by watching him, because he is really masterful. He does stuff that the average Power fan will never see, just to watch him work as an actor, knowing
Yeah.
acting, to watch him technically and his control of his instrument, and of knowing exactly where that camera is, exactly what lens is being used, exactly how he's going to look the best, or how everybody in the scene is going to look the best. There's
Wow.
skill. That's the skill. There's skill to that, and there's timing, and there's subtleties, and there's acting in this box. So you have to convey all of that emotion and everything, but it's in a smaller box. With theater, you're trying to hit that back row, so it feels a little bit bigger. Um, but yeah, I forgot your original question, man. I just kind of went on for a minute.
I'm
My
curious
bad.
though, with your theater background, do you
Yeah.
feel like that gave you an advantage when it comes to filming because you can yell cut, you can run it again, whereas theater is like whatever happens, happens. They right there. There's no double backing.
I think it did. I think I've been doing theater since I was 19 years old professionally, man, and in one of the greatest theater cities in the world, being Chicago. We got some of the dopest theater artists in the country, in the world. They come from right here where I'm sitting, and I've learned so much from so many of them. So yeah, I definitely take that. I took that onto the set for Power. That's my discipline. That's how I learn, and that's how I approach my craft. So yeah, there was certain advantages, but then maybe certain disadvantages too. I don't know, but I really felt good. I felt in control, even though I was learning something new. It's about staying relaxed and staying
Yeah.
open. You know what I mean? And then everybody around you wants you to succeed. Especially on this set, man. We had just one of the best sets that I've ever been a part of. There was like no beef, no drama. Everybody really got along. Everybody knew each other, man. And it's just, we all wanted the same thing. It was all about the show. And so, yeah, man, it was great.
Yeah, man. This show, beautiful, beautiful show. I'm curious because
Yeah.
you said you work with Joseph and you kind of noticed a lot of stuff that the average fan viewer wouldn't see. What are some of the subtle things that he kind of did that you learned that you picked up while working with him?
The way he would use his voice in scenes, where he would throw his focus. You could look at, let's take any scene and see a scene that you as an audience member feels works, or like, yeah, that was very believable. It's because of the choices, and they're very definite choices that are being made by the actor. And Joseph makes very great choices. He has
Yep.
great instincts. He makes great choices. His timing is impeccable. His comedic timing. Comedy is all about
Yeah.
timing, man, and his timing is phenomenal. We started working together in 2000 is when we first met, man, and we worked together on this play at Looking Glass Theater, which is a big theater here in Chicago, where I'm an ensemble member, and Joseph worked with. We came in and did a show together. We workshopped the show for like a year or two, and then it was like the big inaugural show of this theater company. And I mean, he was phenomenal to work with, and the choices, his energy, his instincts, just impeccable. Knowing when the lenses switch out, knowing it's going to be tight, how it's going to look. He also has a bit of a director's mind, so
Mm.
that helps. It gives him another advantage, another way to move, another way to think about and dissect a scene. And he's just very relaxed. When we yell cut, during filming, he's big badass Tommy Egan, yeah. But when we yell cut, he's a nice Polish boy from the northwest side of Chicago. He's really a very authentic and genuine
Yeah.
person who I'm very proud to call a friend.
Yeah, definitely a talented guy.
Yeah.
It's funny because you talked about like the choices and stuff. And like I think about certain scenes where I'm like, he does change the way that he speaks or with his eyes and things like that. And I'm just like, damn, like that's some elite stuff that you don't really
Oh
see.
yeah.
Like that I at least don't see like that in
Yeah.
like the industry. That like that preciseness.
Yeah, man.
Do you
He's
feel
been
like
at this
that's
a
something
long
rare?
time. He's been at this a long time. Literally since he was a child. He's been in front of a camera or on somebody's stage. He is a very seasoned veteran actor,
Mm.
performer. And, this series has really just given him an opportunity to showcase all the skills that this brother possesses.
Yep.
And the dope thing about it, man, is how humble he is about it. The cat that I knew in 2000 when we was like taking the bus to do theater shows, he's the same cat who's like this big Tommy Egan, star of Power Book 4 Force, you know, and the whole Power franchise. He's just, you know, I can't say enough about him, dog.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
what is something, Anthony, that you feel like most people misunderstand about the craft of acting?
Oh, wow. Misunderstand. It's all about memorizing lines,
Mm,
or that's the hardest part. Because that's not the hardest part. It's actually one of the easiest parts if you have, you know, develop techniques to do that. And it's not necessarily about learning the lines. You know, you need to know, like I was saying, what the character wants, where the character is going, where the character is coming from, how the character relates to those around them and to the story as a whole. Um, I don't know, man. What do you think? People might miss. I mean, what are some of your perceptions about acting? I mean, I don't know.
I feel like the main thing is that I've always thought is like the business side. I feel like people misunderstand. Like when people are like, "Well, why isn't this character in the show more?" I look at it more of like, well, maybe it's a budget thing. Maybe they can't pay that person, or maybe that person has another job. Like, I feel like people think that just because they're on a TV show, that like that's the only thing that they're doing. But there's a lot
Yeah.
going on behind the scenes that we don't know.
Oh yeah. You know,
Yeah.
there has to be. You know, in this thing, and then you know, that's just the nature of it, man. It's about working. It's about the hustle. At least here in Chicago, man.
Yep.
You always feel like you could be doing more and that you can be going further. And it's great when you are able to get roles like, you know, being on a great show like Power Book 4 Force. It's fantastic. But it's
Yep.
not always the consistent reality, you know. They're I remember during I think like season 1 or season 2, I was riding the train downtown from my crib. And some cats saw me on the train. They were just like, "Man, why you on the train? What? You know, like what we supposed to be rolling in limos all the time or something? You know, like what you mean? I got to go downtown. That's why I'm on the train. I live in Chicago, man. Or just think that you know it's all about the money, and the money is
Mm,
all the motivating factor for everything. For a lot of times it is, but a lot of actors are not motivated by that. You know, um, some are, but some are not. You know, there's different motivations in this thing, different reasons why people put themselves through this profession. Because there's probably something easier that a lot of people could do
hmm
than jump into this profession, especially now. You know,
Yep.
yeah,
Is money a motivating factor for you at this point when you've done it for
no,
so long?
no, man, nobody who does theater for 30 years is motivated by money. You know, it's telling stories, man. It's the
Yeah.
craft, is who I can work with. Now, money is great. I ain't saying that. You know, when you get roles where you can make some bread, man, make some bread.
Yep.
Definitely, because that is the business side of this thing. Um, but that I haven't reached that state yet, man, where you know everything's motivated by money for me.
So you said that you were filming and you were doing a theater show at the same time.
Yeah,
How was that work?
that was tough, man. I had to miss some performances on stage due to filming, which is the first time in my career that's ever happened.
Wow.
So my understudy had to go on for a few times just because I couldn't work the schedule out. Um, and it was understandable that when I went in and signed the contract with the theater, they knew that was a possibility.
hmm
But, you know, it was a gift and a curse, man. A gift because I got to rehearse and then perform on stage and then on screen, you know, go shoot a show like Power.
Yep.
So I was living my dream on 2 levels at the same time, man. I'd walk into the theater wearing my Power jacket, you know. I would get off the train to go do a show at the Goodman Theater, and on the train behind me be a picture of Sakura talking about Power Before Force, you know. So it was like I was living in both those worlds, man. It was a lot. It was a lot, but you know, it was great. I loved it at the same time. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever happen again. I hope it happens again,
Yeah.
but that was great. And yo, I wanted to say before I forget, man, and I'm going to leave it to experts like you to fact check it, but I think that I may be the first series regular to get his Christmas canceled on Christmas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's got to be fact checked, but I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there.
You
Internet,
might
go
have
ahead.
that one. You might have that one.
Yeah, that was kind of cool to peep that last night.
Yeah. So when you're filming theater and you're filming a TV show, you're obviously doing two different roles. Do you find difficulty in like flip-flopping and switching either one on in either setting?
No. I think because I try to have a very in-depth process for each, and there's a lot of time spent, with the script for each. As an
Yep.
actor, I need the words. I need the scripts. Those are my tools, man. That I need. I need to shape those words and see how to make them fit this character. So it was just delving into both of them, man. It was great to be able to concentrate so completely on a project on stage. And at the time when I did the show on stage, I hadn't been on stage for 6 years, man. It was my first play in
Wow.
6 years because I actually had retired from acting when I got cast on Power, man. I wasn't an actor. I had been
Really?
retired for 2 years, yeah.
So what brought you out of that? Was it the fact that it was Power?
Yeah, but another thing, I never watched the show. I
Any of
didn't,
them?
though. I didn't watch the show. I knew Socorro, because I know Joe, so
Yeah.
I know he was a part of this huge thing. And I had seen clips. I knew the characters from the show, but I never really sat down and watched it. But like
Wow.
I said, I had retired 2 years before, and I was working in the fitness industry at a club called Equinox. Shout out to all my Equinox fam from back in the day. But I was doing that, man, and then COVID hit in 2020, and health club shut down. And they reopened a few months later, but then they shut down again, and we didn't know for how long. So it's around October or November of 2020, and I get a call from Socorro out of the blue, and it went to my voicemail. I missed the call, and I checked the voicemail, and he was like, hey, Anthony, we're doing a spinoff of my show, and I think there's a role on there that you'd be great for, and he was like, would you mind if I gave your number to one of the EPs? And I was like, I wasn't working at the time. It was COVID. I was like, hell yeah, give my number to the EP, man. So he gave my man the number, and then like 5 minutes after that, man, I get a FaceTime call from a California number, and I'm like, yo, who's this? Answer the FaceTime call. He tells me who he is, what the project is, and he says he's going to send me some sides, send me a scene. It's like, take your time with it, get comfortable, put yourself on tape, and send it back. So I put myself on tape, and I sent it back, and he was like, yeah, man. And this how long I only been retired for 2 years, but I hadn't done any auditioning or nothing. He was like, yo, the audition is great, but would you mind, turning your camera this way when you film, So I didn't even know that, man. I was like, oh, all right, bet. So my lovely wife, man, she was like, all right, let's send them an audition. And, God bless this woman. She like got the lights, the studio set up, and like camera, and we filmed it, and like we just threw down dope ass audition for what they were asking for and sent it off. And then they sent me some more stuff back, and the scene was slightly different. And like, okay, try this and put that on tape. And they 6-7 times, man.
Wow.
At least. And this was during COVID, so all the auditions were on your laptop, on camera, And I had just been so used to like going and being in front of the casting director and letting them like see you and feel you and like hear you. But now I'm auditioning to my laptop. So that was an adjustment. But it kept getting down the line, and it got more narrow and narrow between who they wanted. And I'm gonna tell this real quick. Before, when you're being considered as a series regular, before they make a decision, they make you an offer. Because they want to know right away, if we go with you, that it's a yes. We don't want to choose you and then you be like, well, it depends on the offer. So before you nail it, you get the offer. So I remember my agent called me, and I put the phone on speaker because I knew it was coming up. And my wife and I were standing in the kitchen, and she, my agent was breaking down. It'd be a series regular, 10 episode season, blah blah blah. And she just told me what the contract was, and I just remember my wife and I just looked at each other, man, and it just gap faced, dog. We were
like, hell yeah, we're about to get this bread.
wow. But it was like, hell yeah, we're gonna get this bread. But it was like, I still had to audition for it, but it was like, this is something that you get, you don't miss this. This is the game winning shot, and you sink this, dog.
Yeah.
So I went into that audition, and the last read was with Joseph, like a chemistry kind of read,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how great he is, man. We did 2 scenes, and the first scene there was a little flub, barely, from him. He like hiccuped one little word slightly, not even a big deal. But when we got to the end of it, immediately before anybody could say anything, he was like, "Let's run that back. Let's do it again." And we went back and he did it even better. And man, just that was that, like, going into the audition, knowing what was at stake. I mean, it's like I saw your interview with Lucian.
Yeah.
And he said like life changing.
Mm-hmm.
It was that, man. It was like this will change your life.
Yep.
This will change the trajectory of your life in the next 3 minutes talking to your laptop. You get this. And we went in and read, man. And, when we were reading, it was just his and I face up on the screen. And then as soon as we're done, like all the EPs came up on the screen, man. You could just tell they were very moved by what Socorro and I did. And it felt good, man. I felt like, I may have just got that. But they still don't tell you, so you still like waiting. You're waiting around to see. And then I remember later on that afternoon, Socorro texted my wife because, they're friends. We all been friends, man. We used to work at the same nightclub together. Socorro's wife and my wife hang out, when they're in New York and when they come to Chicago. So Socorro sent my wife a text that I didn't see right away that said, buy a bottle of champagne. And my wife read it and like pulled back. And I was like, what? And she showed it to me. And it was like, what? And then like an hour or so later, that same EP from California called me and was like, yo, what are you doing in February or whenever we started filming? And I was like, man, hopefully I'm filming Power Book 4 for us. And then I got offered the role, man.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's
so it was
dope,
great, man. I went from like retiring to working in fitness, which I loved. I loved that. But COVID like shut that down, and then not knowing. We were talking about not knowing what's next. I mean, there's a lot of that. And, I'm not 19 years old and don't know what's next. I'm a man with a family, so that's a tougher predicament, that instability, which is not a unusual or new thing for me, given the profession I've chosen. But it was a lot, it was a lot. I had a little boy, and my oldest son was, getting ready for college in about a year or two. Which now he's about to graduate
crazy
this spring. Yeah. So yeah, man, it was definitely life-changing, this role. And it was just, when they were crafting it, I feel they pulled so much from me personally that it felt walking around in familiar shoes. Of course it wasn't an exact match and there were things that were different, but the energy of the brother, it just really resonated with me, and I really could relate to it. And, it became apparent to me as we filmed it from season 1 to season 2. It's like JP's he moves different than the rest of the show. The show is hip hop and JP is jazz, so he had a different kind of vibration to him. And I embraced that, and I wanted that because of, all the research I put into the role and what I wanted to bring to the role. I like that he didn't go pick up a gun. That he came out to confront them niggas with a bat. He's old school and he is who he is. He's not going to try to be somebody else. He stood on that. Does he have fault? He had tons of faults. He's multifaceted, complex, incomplete. But I felt he was a cat who loved his family, and did something very brave that cost him his relationship with his son,
Yep.
when he came out, when he came out to his wife about his sexuality, she took their son from him and sort of poisoned his mind about his dad. JP coming out, of course, would end the relationship with his wife, but didn't have to end the relationship with his son because JP
Mm.
and D-Mac, Darnell, they started off in each other's life. JP was around. Darnell carried that picture of him with him when they were kids. And then JP went away, and once he came out, he took that stand, and I feel he became selfish. He went out and did what he wanted to do, started to live his life and not hide anymore.
Yeah.
But there was casualties in that. There was collateral damage with his relationship with his son, and I just feel that happens. I mean, not necessarily with sexuality, but that happens a lot with parents. Being a parent is not easy, and the parents in this series have a hard job, because the stakes that they are playing at, their kids are in these streets, and parents are
Yep.
losing their kids to these streets, and that's real shit. That's real shit in Chicago. That's real shit in cities all over this country, all over this world, like Chicago, where the pull of the street is so strong, that kids are dying, parents are burying their children. And
Yep.
I think once JP got back in D-Mac's life, he was unsure how to move. JP is a cat who lived with a lot of regret. And that's always a tough place to move from, man, when you're just filled with regret, especially when it comes to relationships with family and children. So JP didn't know how to move. He didn't know, a lot. I think it could be said, why didn't JP just grab D-Mac and whoop his ass? That wouldn't have done shit. People who
Yep.
say that, it's like, y'all don't have children. Y'all not dealing with it like this. If, JP whooped D-Mac's ass, what would that have accomplished? D-Mac would have took that ass whooping. He'd been in the street anyway.
Yeah.
Probably faster. It would have pushed him faster to the street,
Yeah.
So JP was trying to move from a place of, I just want him to know I don't agree with your choices. And you're not going to always agree with your children's choices. But I want you to know I don't agree with them. I'm not going to live in your world. Because JP also made that decision. He said, I'm not going to move in this world. At the end of season 2, when he threw the keys back to Tommy over Kate's bedside, he was like, this is what this world brings, and I don't want to be part of it. So JP stood on that. But he's telling D-Mac, I'm going to be here for you. If you have to turn around, you'll see me behind you. If you need to reach up for help, I'm going to grab you and pull you out. At least we'll have that. I think, again, on that longer timeline, JP had a different plan. I think JP definitely wanted to work his way to getting Darnell, off the streets. But right now, from where they were moving, he was like, I just want you to know, son, I'm here for you. And you can always come home. You can always turn back to me. And I'll always protect you, It took JP a while to get there. And once he was there, I think it was like, there's no going back. I think that's why he moved on Jannard the way he did,
Yeah.
It wasn't the smartest thing, no. To walk up, because anything could have happened. Jannard could have took out a gun and shot him right in the head right then. Or Raheem, the brother who was standing next to him, But JP was like, I'm protecting my son. And this is the way I know how to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. This is who I am as a man. So this is how I'm going to move to protect my son.
I feel like he said something to D-Mac. He was like,
Yeah.
I had a similar issue with my father, and it kept us away from a bit of time.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, so that probably expedited how he's feeling. He's like, I don't want to repeat the same cycle with my son. Like, there's no need.
Time's
you
short.
feel like you having kids, like, do you feel different when you play this type of role, knowing you have children and knowing, like, obviously your children not in the streets, but like, there's a sense of, I might
my
want them to
7-year-old is a little gangster. But I'm doing what I can, man. I'm doing what I can. No, I think definitely that experience as a father has helped influence, because I know what that's like. I know that feeling, when you are trying to protect the life of something that came from your body.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you won't do for a loved one, for a child. There's nothing that you won't do to protect that child if put in a situation. It's instinctive, and that's every species, most species. Definitely humans. But that protection instinct is strong. So at the end of the day, I think that's what JP just wanted to do. For the time that we had in the show, for the window we could see into the show. Season 3, JP's mission was about protecting D-Mac, so keep him alive long enough so he can see his potential in other arenas. And maybe still in CBI. Maybe he was just, he shouldn't have been a soldier. Maybe you could have been put into another position, where one day you'd be taken over, or you didn't have to be the dude, with the gun in the street. Because D-Mac was such a bright kid. Took the SATs, in our show, and he was doing all those math figures in his head. So we were trying to set up that he's smart. He's intelligent. He has a brain. And but it's just like I was saying, man, that pull of the street. He wanted to be in the street.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Man, rip JP, man. Shout out Anthony Fleming, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Is there any topics, projects, anything you want to shout out before we get you out of here?
Man, I got a couple of things in the irons. I do some voiceover work, and I do these documentaries for a channel here in Chicago called WTTW. The documentaries are Chicago Stories, and it's the only hour-long weekly documentary series about Chicago. So I've been filming those right here in this room. I'm in my voiceover studio at the crib.
Tough.
And I also will be on a project that's filmed right here in Chicago with Sin City Productions, a project called Messy Lola that we're shopping around early 2026, written by Kevin Douglas, directed by Mr. Blake Martin, and all the good people, Cynthia McWilliams over at Sin City Productions. I'll be involved with that. And the last thing I want to say, man, is just about the fans, the Power fans, man. Like I say, I didn't expect, man, I didn't expect that reaction. And it just means a lot. A lot of JP stuff was real isolated. You know what I mean? Like it was with Tommy. JP never left the crib, in season 3. He was at the crib all the time, and you see what happens when he did leave. But, it was just, I didn't know how people would react to it or how people were feeling JP. I didn't really pop out a lot. I'm sort of a lone wolf, and I kind of, I keep it real. My circle is very small and tight, and I keep it real close to the chest. So you just never know. Like we were saying, I didn't know how people would respond to his death. I thought they'd be like, hey, finally, this dude is out of here. What purpose did he serve? But to see the reaction thus far to not only his death, but to just the entirety of the character has been really just heartwarming and great. And I didn't expect this reaction to it.
Yeah.
But it was huge, man. This is a role that I love to do. I love to bring the vulnerability and the emotional depth to this character, and I think the show was better for it to have a character like JP to interact with Tommy, who family is a huge pillar for Tommy. His loyalty, family, his power, but family is definitely one of those pillars, and to be able to be his brother on the show, and then just with Joseph, and our bond and friendship over the years, to be able to play his brother has been fantastic, and I just couldn't be more grateful to him and to everyone, the directors, the writers, and the fans. I interact with a lot of the fans. I'm only on Instagram. I'm not even on any of the socials, man. I'm an old man, dog. So I'm just on the gram, and so I'm able to interact with a lot of the fans on a regular basis, man. And even if I just send like a fist bump or whatever, it's huge. You know, when I do theater, I'm always that guy who comes out after the show because I like to see the people who are in the
Yeah.
lobby who saw the show and, you know, find out, yo, what you think? Did you like it? Thanks for coming. I was always that actor. Some actors sneak out the back door, you know. I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. I'm like
Yeah.
getting dressed because I want to be in the lobby, you know. Not the floss, man, but I just wanted to see the people. Like, yo,
Yeah.
did you like, you know, because I care so much about it, and I'm glad that you were a part of it. And I just feel the fans are definitely a part of that. You're the fans' engagement, you know, and what you do, man, you know, breaking it down, being the connoisseur of not just Force, but of all the whole series, you know. I listen and watch how you talk and move, and, you know, you're very knowledgeable, man. You predicted my my demise a long time ago. I kept saying in my head, man, shut your ass up. Shut up. But, you know, you break down your breakdown of the show and your analysis is great, man. It's top notch. And I
Thank you,
love
man.
I love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And, you know, enjoy these last 2 eps.
Absolutely. Likewise, man. I don't know why you're surprised, man. When you do good work, like, you're gonna get the response that you deserve. And you did a great job. Man, you had a lot of people salty, like, damn, they got JP like that. Like, I knew you was
Yeah.
gonna die, but in the way that you went out, hit way different because you was protecting your son, and he didn't give in, and
Yeah.
that just made for a great ending. And now it's like we're all anticipating what's gonna happen next.
I text Lofton this morning and I said, man, I'm going to make some fuck Jannard t-shirts and put them out
You
there in the
should.
world.
You should.
He said, go ahead,
That
man,
would
do
sell.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
we'll
appreciate you coming on with me,
cats is
man.
heated.
And
But, you know, again, he's that villain that people love to hate, and he's playing the hell out that role. I mean, that boy
yep,
brings it. I mean, his intensity, man, is just phenomenal every rip.
absolutely.
And I don't
It's
think
been
people
an
realize how
honor.
big that brother is either.
Who? Chris Lofton?
Thanks, man. Yeah. He one of that big country strong. You know, you got that cousin from down south
Yeah.
who's just big and strong for no reason. That's Lofton. You stand next to him, you're like, damn. But yeah, this cast, you know, just to say one last thing, man.
Yep.
Just this cast is, you know, from season 1 to season 3, just great people to work with, man. Tommy Flanagan, Guy, Van Swearingen, you know, I'm going back. Phil Donlin, I'm going back first season. Gabriel, Lily, Ahmad, Lucian, man, it's just on and on, man. Lofton, just good people, man.
Thank you, man. We appreciate your work on the show. Thank you, man. And we're very intrigued to see what's coming next for you in your career. And this won't be the last time we see each other. So we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.